Hi, everyone. I'm Catherine Anaya, and welcome to the Women's Eye podcast. This is where you are going to meet fascinating women who are leaving their mark, making a difference, and changing lives. This episode is brought to you by Casco Financial Group in Phoenix, Arizona. Catherine Scrivano is the president of Casco Financial Group. She founded her business to help people create the financial strength needed to achieve their dreams. I am so excited to have as my guest today, Chef Silvana Saucedo Esparza. Chef Silvana is an eight-time James Beard Award semifinalist, owner of the nationally recognized Barrio Cafe here in Phoenix, Arizona, an activist and a community leader. We're going to talk about what inspired her unique style of cooking, how COVID has impacted her personally and her health, and what she would like her legacy to be. Chef Silvana, now you have sort of a heads up of what I'm going to ask you. Welcome to the Women's Eye podcast. It's good to see you.
Good to see you again.
Thank you. So, you have been very, very busy, I know, lately. Last summer when we talked, you had just become a mom to a cat. You had just jumped off a roof for your 60th birthday, into a pool, I should add. Now I see you're a mom to a puppy. Congratulations. And you're hiking so many miles almost every day. I mean, you're amazing. How would you say your approach to life has changed in the last 9 months? Because clearly, with that visual picture that I just gave, it has.
Well, that's kind of the way I've always been. But now, even more so, it's put the pedal to the metal and really do it. See, it's kind of like when my mother died at age 58. Most of my life, she called me Barbara, like Barbara, and I used to say, my name's not Barbara, it's Silvana. She says, "Ay, Barbara, like you're barbarian. You just do these crazy things. You go away for a weekend and stay a week." And I used to say, "Well, and you don't save money." And I would say, "Well, I thought money was meant to be spent, to pass through my hands like water. And I thought life was meant to be enjoyed." And she passed on at age 58. And I remember holding her head and smelling her head and going, I was right. Life is like that. So that's kind of like how I look at life. When one door shuts, I'm like, okay, next. I don't mourn things too much. Life is too fast to sit there and mourn things.
Well, and do you also think about the fact that you're 60 and your mom was 58 when she passed away, and kind of do you sometimes try to put that together in your head about how you approach life, like you just said, living each moment?
No, I think at that moment, 25 years ago, it proved to me that I was right. And and it was just for every negative, there's positives. And for me, it was very sad that she died so young, but I also took her life and used it as a platform that I could jump off of and springboard into, and not let her life go to waste. So I read somewhere that there's no shame in taking a negative and turning it into a positive, like the phoenix that ascends from its own ashes. And then I moved to Phoenix. And I feel that way. I feel like a phoenix that has ascended from her ashes. My ashes are happening over and over again. I've had failed relationships, failed businesses because of whatever reasons. And that's okay. Somebody says if your butt falls off, what do? You pick it up and you carry it with you.
That's a good way to look at it.
You pick it up, let's go. You keep walking. And, I canceled you earlier in the week because I just possibly couldn't even be myself to have a conversation. And 2 weeks ago, I hiked 30 miles in 1 week. I had hoped.
Amazing.
Yeah, no, it is amazing because I'm amazing myself. Sometimes I'm out there. Yesterday, for example, I went by myself for a sunset hike. It had been 2.5 days and I'm in chronic pain. But I realized that I'm in pain whether I'm laying in bed thinking about it or if I'm walking really not thinking about it because I'm worried about my next step. Look at that pretty rock. Oh my God, was that an eagle or what was that, a hawk?
Mm-hmm.
And oh, that wasn't a snake, was it? That's what I'm worried about.
I've
Oh
seen
yeah,
those
well,
pictures though. I've seen those pictures you posted
they're
of those
amazing.
snakes that you've encountered.
It's amazing. I'm a country girl that loves the city. I grew up in Merced, California, at the base of Yosemite. So for me to ditch school was either to go hiking or go snow skiing. Um, so for me to hike here, it's kind of going home.
Well, a lot of people may not realize that you have an incurable disease. And that's why you mentioned the fact that you were not feeling well earlier this week. So we had to reschedule. But the hiking, as much as you love the beauty of Arizona, is also part of keeping yourself healthy, correct?
It is. I know that with COVID, for example, really, if I don't get out and do something, and what can we do? It's limited. I usually travel a lot. Um, I'm gonna go crazy thinking
Mm-hmm.
about half empty, restaurants, lack sales, trying to figure out the next wave of COVID, how we're gonna figure this out. Well, I'll take that time out of my day, which is valuable. I could be doing projects that I need to be doing, but sitting on my butt writing a book right now is not what I'm going to be doing
Mm-hmm.
because my spirit is not into it. I need to take care of my spirit. So I do. Uh, I've done it before when I was near death. I focused on being a vegan, eating natural supplements, and doing Rick Simpson oil, RSO. YouTube it. It's worth looking into. It's
Mm-hmm.
you know
Yeah, you talk about it a lot on your Instagram too.
I do because I'm an advocate for it. I already know a few people that use it now for their well-being, and it's changed. It's done what medicine cannot do. OxyContin, Rick Simpson oil, uh, no cure, so you're stuck on steroids for the rest of your life, and it's a toss of the dice if they will work, and if they do work, for how long. If you do
Mm-hmm.
go in remission, how long before your disease is back? you know, Much
You
like, pardon me, I have sarcoidosis,
right.
which is systemic. Again, right now, I could feel it. I've become so attuned to my body now that I can
Mm-hmm.
feel where it's at.
Well,
I
and
need,
you've mentioned to me that, it's important for you in feeling better also to be spiritually feeling good. It's not just physical, it's spiritual. And when you do hike, do you feel like that hiking, especially because I know you're doing so much more of it lately, has that been transformative for your spirit?
it is, it has, I'm a thinker, so it allows me to either think things through to the point where I'll be walking with my hiking buddy and she'll go, "What are you thinking about now?" Because my posture changes. Or it allows me to just be mindless and like a little kid going, "Look at that pretty rock. Oh my God, look at those clouds." I mean, just like that cactus is so beautiful the way the light is hitting it. And I love to take photos since I was a kid. And I'll just sit there and geek out on photos. You know, it's the most, and I'm a chef, so I always carry cheese and crackers and
Oh, I
fruit.
want to go hiking with you.
I make a little picnic and I wave at people. If it wasn't COVID, I would be like, "Come on, have some with us." Probably setting up some taco stand up in the
Hmm.
mountains. But it is, a challenge. I remember going up Kiwanis, going, "I can't do this anymore," and actually turning back. And now it's only the beginning of the 15 miles we're going to do. And it's fun if you make it fun. It's a torture. But I'm telling you, I was in horrible pain yesterday and I went for a walk. And by the time I got to the real climb, I couldn't even remember. I was worried
Easy
about just,
peasy, right?
I'm going to climb this baby no matter
Yeah,
what. And
good for you.
No,
Well,
it
it has,
is.
it's been inspiring to follow your journey because, we have talked in the past and I know that, you haven't had very many pleasant days physically lately. So it's been inspiring to watch you get out there and be so positive about being active, which is really important. I meant to talk to you about that later. So I'm going to digress a little bit and then maybe we'll get back to a little bit more about, what you're dealing with personally. But I want to talk about the restaurant because there are going to be people listening right now who don't live in Phoenix. And I want them to know that Barrio Cafe is nationally known. You're a nationally known chef. They can Google diners, drive-ins, and dives to see that Barrio Cafe was featured. And I loved when Guy Fieri turns to the camera and he says, "Don't ask for fajitas, chips, and salsa," because it's not that kind of Mexican restaurant. So for people who may be just stumbling upon it after listening to this, how would you describe your very unique style of food?
I describe it as my food. And if you look at me, I don't look like your average bear. I don't talk like your average person, and I definitely don't think. I'm horribly dyslexic, so I can't, even if I tried. I'm a 800-year legacy of baking and gastronomic excellence, 500 of those years through Mexico, almost 100 in the States. And that's what I come from. My father, my grandfather, it's just generational, it's never stopped. And I'm the only one doing it at this point in my family. So I take my stuff serious. And at age 40, I took my 401k and I traveled Mexico. I had a scholarship with the chef in Oaxaca. So I took my 401k and I was going to go live in Oaxaca for 6 months and study with the chef on her ranch. But when I got there, I realized that after I already had traveled 2 months to get there, I was kind of seasoned and I knew more than I should have. Had I flown right into Oaxaca, I would have been there 6 months, but I didn't. I took the bus from Phoenix to El Paso all the way into Oaxaca. By the time I got there, I'd been everywhere.
And you backpacked through Mexico, right?
That's what I was doing, just hopping on the bus. And
we're talking remote areas, right?
Well, at that point, yes, not as remote as it got. So when I got to this ranch, I realized that I wasn't meant to be there, we'll call it that, and I left. And then I said, well, what am I going to do now? So I roll up my sleeves. And by the grace of God, somebody pointed me in the right direction. And I ended up way in southern Oaxaca, in el Istmo de Tehuantepec, the Isthmus of Tehuantepec, where the Zapotec women are in charge. It's a matriarch culture. And, I fit right in there. Women in charge. Where?
That's you.
Yeah, and I was a lot heavier back then. So they were all trying to dress me up in their rabonas. You're kind of tall to be part of us, but you look like one of us. And they have these dances, and if they're married, they throw fruit at their husbands. It's just rituals that I loved. But at the end of the day, some of Oaxaca's best cooking comes out of that place. The black mole, the cooking and the culture of cooking iguana. So that's what I ended up doing, just being adventurous and backpacking. So coupled that with culinary school and growing up a baker, making up my own businesses since I was 15. That makes me, so that describes my food.
So it's an influence of a number of things. It's an influence of a number of experiences, right?
Yes, it's my travels, my experiences, my imagination, and my dyslexia. And my love for fatty foods.
Well, who doesn't love fatty foods, right?
like puff pastry with all those layers of butter, It works really well with Mexican food because, see, there's a lot of history in Mexican food. Mexican food in the United States, that's the problem. It's been appropriated. It's been
Yes,
taken out of the hands.
and we're not talking about that kind of food when we're talking
No,
about Barrio
no,
Cafe.
right. So in the States, but if you go to Mexico, it is so vast that you don't even know where to begin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all the rage for the last 10 years has been the street taco that you're sitting in a restaurant eating. And ooh, that's just nothing compared to the richness of Mexican food.
The real Mexican food, which is what you brought. Yeah, which is what you brought to Phoenix, you know, in the early 2000s. I came a year after you opened the restaurant. And I remember that's all, because remember, I had been here before. So I came back and that's all anybody talked about. It was just something that was new and exciting and unlike anything we had ever experienced before.
Yeah, but it was, I know where that I put, and I was very sure to do that, but does it say Mexican food or real Mexican food or anything? I identify, sure, you know, Mexican, sure. Mexican influence, if you want to. So I call it cocina de autor, the author's food, the chef's food, and it is chef-inspired food. My travels, my inspirations, my politics. There's a lot of politics in the way I think about food. You know, there's seasonality, there's respect for certain foods. And like I have a hard time, I blame it on the airport, but I would literally take chiles en nogada, which is my number one, probably next to cochita pibil and guacamole. So it's number 3. But my chiles en nogada are high seller and high in demand. And there was a time when pomegranates would go away. You could get the frozen ones, not the same, out of season. Why would I do that? And to honor the dish, I would go just the short season of the pomegranates. And it became, when the airport opened, that they wanted it all the time. And then pomegranates became available all the time. And I still had a hard time, because it wasn't about the pomegranates. It was about honoring the dish that was created in honor and in season of a Mexican holiday. So, but am I capitalist? Am I purist?
Such conflict.
Yeah, I'm very, so and then I figured, and then I said, okay, do it. I don't want to know about it at the airport. And then somebody said, chef, I can't get the chiles en nogada on the street where I just got them on the airport. So sometimes you have to, but yeah, I'm that kind of chef. And, you know, I get torn.
Well, let me bring people up to speed a little bit on what's happening with the restaurant, because it has been impacted severely because of COVID. You had to close one restaurant permanently. You had to close Barrio Cafe temporarily. You're down from 40 employees to 10, and they're like family to you. You've had no financial relief support. Where do things stand right now? And can Barrio Cafe survive this?
Probably not. But man, it's a tough cookie, that Barrio Cafe.
Like its chef.
I'll be very honest with you. I have enough equity just in my house alone that I can live a couple of years to wait this out in my house in Mexico. Rent my buildings out, sell them, I don't care. I'd be okay. Because I have intellectual property. I'm going to go write books. I know what I'm doing. But everybody else, you know.
That's the tough part.
And including what this restaurant means to the community and to my culture, right? What it has done. And, you know, I think my steadfast stance on not compromising my culture has, I know it's been applauded because they write to me, But there's a whole generation of street vendors right now that are your future restaurant owners, that are future chefs, that are going to give you an evolved version of their culture. And so the future is beautiful. And now with the new administration, let there be a taco truck in every corner. Except I hope it's not just straight tacos. I hope it's memelas, picaditas, all the stuff.
Well, hopefully it's influenced the same way yours has been influenced, your cooking, your style of food.
It's fun. I encourage. So I've been doing scholarships, and I'm broke now, so I won't be doing them for a minute.
But you know what? You touched on the fact that it means a lot to you because it means a lot to the community. And we know the community loves you. I mean, you're an icon in this community. I remember trying to order takeout the weekend that you reopened, and I couldn't because there were so many people who were ordering. It crashed your system. Were you surprised by that response?
I'm always surprised. I remember when I got, what's the top 5 stars or whatever it is from I'm sorry, my brain is, my memory is a little bit foggy, but and there was a line out there. I was blown away. I'm always blown away. I'm always humbled by people's generosity or people's accolades, or wow, I got an award. You know, I'm always humbled by it. And not because I don't think I deserve it, but because I don't care, right? I don't look for those accolades.
It doesn't fuel you. That's not what you get.
No. Talking to my customers, or just talking to people in general, or watching people eat food, that's what really fills me, knowing that my food is making a difference in my culture. That makes a difference. There's no yellow cheese. There's no chips, no salsa. I had a woman at my other restaurant that I used to have. I had a woman demand chips and salsa. So the server's like, "Can you go talk to her?" I'm like, "Okay, sure." And I went, "What's the matter? You want chips and salsa? Are you jonesing?" You know, and ha 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 ha. She goes, "I am." I said, "You know that's not Mexican, really, right? We use our salsa and we use our totopos for other things." She goes, "Well, I've had them and you're wrong, and I had them in Mexico." I go, "Well, stop. Acapulco, Zihuatanejo, Cancun, hotel, the room full of gringos?" And she goes, "Yes." I said, "See, they were catering to you. I'm going to cater to you too. Go bring her some chips and salsa."
Wow.
No charge. But I let her know that that is not our culture.
Right.
And she had to sit there and listen to me give her a little speech of how and why. And
right.
It's okay.
Well, you educated her in the process.
Well, that's the idea, right? Like, I never gave you chips and salsa. And if you ask why bread, I'll be like, because my father was a baker and I come from 800 years of it, and my veins runs flour, you know. That's how we ate in my household.
Speaking of that, the many generations in your family of bakers, did you always know that this was what you wanted to do? That you wanted to be a chef?
My brother Augustine and I used to play chef in the kitchen, like nerds. He would put a white, you know, like a kitchen towel, and go, "Hey, madame," and serve me my food. We would take mom's cookbooks and figure things out. We figured out how to make a roux and thicken up milk because we don't have heavy cream.
So you knew?
Yeah, I think so. The government cheese that mom would always end up with, and she didn't need it, but she loved it so much, right? That creamy Monterey Jack. That you put that into a sauce and it thickens it up. We just came up with all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I knew.
You're making me hungry, by the way.
Well, you know, I worked at a bakery, and we only had certain ingredients, so we would have to create our meals out of there. You could only eat so many pickles, or
yeah,
pickles,
exactly.
you know.
Well, you've certainly put Phoenix on the map when it comes to Barrio Cafe. And you are one of nearly 100 chefs that are in the Phoenix Cook's book, which is a new book, sold out almost immediately in your restaurant. I know I was one of the lucky few to get a signed copy, so thank you for that. Would you say that the scene, here in Arizona, it's really exploded food wise, culinary wise, with, some amazing chefs, including yourself. Would you say that's something recent, or has it always been this way and it just took a while for the country to notice, the rest of the country?
No, I realize that I'm the old broad of, of many. And we kind of been around, some of us, and we watch it grow. And that's why, for example, I was the darling of Mexican food. I'm not the darling anymore. There's so many different good places that are legitimate that are not serving you yellow cheese. And that's the beauty of it, right? That's why you set out to do something as daring as Barrio Cafe, or even Barrio Cafe Gran Reserva, in hopes that somebody else is going to pick up the torch and say, yes, I got this, and follow suit. Case in point is there's chiles en nogada all over town.
Yes.
Right? Nobody even knew what that was here in this town, because that's a very regional, seasonal dish. But its success is warrants to be mimicked. Absolutely. I had somebody tell me, wow, this town really has good Mexican food. And I think they were right. We do.
Yes.
So right there alone, let's talk about awards, right? The James Beard is the Academy
It's like the
Award.
Oscars, right? Yeah.
Right. So the Oscars for chefs. And this area was just never making it to the finals at all, because Texas was so massive that they were just taking over. Now, let me ask you something. I've eaten in Texas. I've eaten here.
So
and I've
have
eaten in California. And you cannot compare the Mexican food in Texas in general to the Mexican food in general to Arizona that we have today. Not today. Ugo is making a difference. There's a couple of chefs over there that are making a difference. Other than that, it's the old standard Tex-Mex, fajitas. And here we have two types of Mexican food. I call it the fresh off the boat, if you will, the immigrant food. And then the more modernized version of that immigrant food. Nobody is modernizing the old Sonoran fake Sonoran food. In fact, they're modernizing norteño food, which is either like tacos chihuas, right? And what they're doing with their Chihuahua food, and other chefs are doing Sonoran food, like Renee Shito. So I think that it's, Samantha Sands does a lot of her Sonoran touch in her food. Finally, because if you just give them a place to shine, they will shine.
Absolutely.
And it's happening. It's happening finally, and that's given us really a better team for Phoenix, at least. Now, if you put us together with the team that they got going on in Tucson, and with the Lotte in the northern
Sedona.
part, man, we got some stellar, the whole state.
We do.
We do. We got it going. And
yes.
So, I mean, Chef Jeff has been doing it for years, way before I have, and I've been doing it 18 years here, but he's been doing it longer.
Yes, but you're a legend, and I'm sure you inspired many of the people that you're talking about, the up and comers. What would you like your legacy to be? What would you want to be known for? Or what do you want to be known for?
Which means generally badass. It doesn't, badass to prove. It means chingona, like I have nothing to prove. Like I don't need to prove anything. Doña, like a don, a term of respect. Because I'm true to myself. As quirky as I am, I've learned to, if I honor myself, if I shine the God within and honor that and live steadfast and have integrity, most importantly, I could be, here, I'll give you an example. In my family, there's now 2 nieces that have come out, and I've always,
and maybe they wouldn't have or couldn't have done that before you, right?
Right. Before me, they don't come out. I look at the generation before me,
right.
They didn't come out, even my age or even right after me. And I try to be as an example of, you don't have to prove anything. You live, you also don't have to go off the deep end. You can have a life. I've raised other people's kids and they're my kids now, I'm going to be a grandma soon. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I can't wait. We're talking about weeks here. So, life is what life is, but again, you got to be like water, and water is powerful, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
But it's fluid and it just goes. It finds a way to always keep moving, and that's me. Might be in bed in the morning and hiking in the evening, but you gotta go.
Like the phoenix.
It's all about attitude. I think it begins with that. They told me my mother had 3 months to live. That's it. Right out of surgery. I never told her that. I never told her that.
Wow.
And my although that's probably, but I never told her that because she lived a year, and not a year of just dragging, a year of good. I mean, the last thing she did a month before she died was go and see Tom Jones. So
bless her.
Right?
Yes.
She liked
but you know what?
Jones.
That brings me to my last question. You're dealing with a life-changing illness. Does it empower you? And what would your advice be to anybody who's listening right now, who's dealing with something that is physically challenging for them?
I'm blessed. I have to be very, very honest with you. I'm blessed. I already had the attitude of life could end tomorrow. Let's really go for it. And again, this just empowers what I always thought, and it shows me to really accomplish things. Finish things. Don't procrastinate. I have a lot of books that I'm looking this way because they're all looking at me, that I've started, and I have to just start with one. That's it. And I already wrote one. I just have to finish it.
And it's not a cookbook, right?
No, it's a travel log. It's when I backpacked through Mexico, and it's stories about the women and their artisanal cooks. The barefoot vendor that didn't speak any Spanish, but she spoke Nahuatl, and yet somehow her food wasn't magnificent, but it had such spirit and such history to it. Oh, absolutely, love. And it was fascinating because everybody bought from her or traded with her. she would go and take the coffee beans out of other people's plants and make a mix of coffee beans and go sell them. And everybody knew that that's how she sustained. So what a wonderful story, and what an inspiration to me.
Mm-hmm.
To, I don't know, let that be part of the recipe.
Right. Well, I'm looking forward to that book when it does finally get written and it's released, and looking forward to many more years of Barrio Cafe. I will be praying for that. And hopefully I'll see you on the mountain. I just started hiking again, so maybe I'll see you. And I just want
I've
to,
noticed the traffic. All the people that
yes.
didn't hike during when it was hot, all of a sudden out there hiking.
Well, you motivated us. That's a good thing. So, Chef, thank you. Thank you for giving me your time, for your talent, for your community advocacy, for your leadership. I know you haven't been feeling well, so I appreciate you being, here and having this conversation with me. It means a lot to me. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
By the way, you can learn more about Chef Silvana by going to our website, which is thewomenseye.com. And I do want to let you know that The Women's Eye has a book. It's called 20 Women Changemakers. You can shop for it wherever you buy books and at changemakersbook.com. That's going to do it for this episode of the Women's Eye podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Catherine Anaya. Until next time, it's the world as we see it.